Hello and welcome. Today we're going to take a look inside of ourselves and talk about our emotions with Inside Out. Inside Out was released in 2015. It has an all-star cast. We have Amy Poehler, who is also best known from not only Saturday Night Live but also Parks and Recreation.
I'm sorry, Miss Pinewood, but why would anybody need this much soda?
It's not my place to speak for the consumer, but everyone should buy it.
Bill Hader, also from Saturday Night Live.
If you want fun, then listen to this. New York's hottest club is Slice. Club promoter Gay Liotta is back, and this time he's gone crazy.
Phil Smith, Mindy Kaling, and Lewis Black. Oh, Michael Giacchino did the music for this again. This music is beautiful, and honestly, he's becoming my favorite composer in the Pixar world. It's really, really relaxing music, and it fits the theme so well. This was also directed by Pete Docter, so this is also Pete Docter's film again, and it was co-directed by Ronnie Del Carmen. This is a very, very, very important movie to see. This is so important. It does such a fantastic job talking about emotions and how important emotions are and the changes that people go through with the emotions. Especially for kids, this is directed, their main character is Riley and she's 11 years old. Although, honestly, half the things she does, does not fit an 11-year-old personality, in my opinion. She fits more of a 7-8-year-old opinion, the way she daydreams and how innocent she is at 11 years old. And this is when she's going through changes from being a kid to being an adult. But at the same time, especially in today's world, I feel like with all this technology, people are growing up faster. So it kind of disassociated me knowing that she's 11 when she acts more like she's 7 or 8. But nonetheless, that's a minor detail and it's still excellent, and they portray it so well. And the fact about her dealing with all these changes that she has to move and now everything is going wrong, and that sadness and joy can't get along together, and the complexity that you need to learn to be sad at times. You can't be happy all the time, and you need sadness to balance out and make you happy. It's a really great, great, great film. I have to keep understanding this is a family film and the emotions are directed to kids. And whereas I will get annoyed at these characters, such as sadness is a terrible, terrible, terrible character in the beginning and annoys me so much, she does improve throughout the second half, and I know how important she is to drive the plot along, but I just want to kick her in the first half of this film because she annoys me. She doesn't do anything, she just lays around there, and that's what's the joke about it, and that's part of why she moves the plot along. But I don't like this first half of how her and Joy act.
Touched a core memory, and when you touch them, we can't change them back.
Oh, I know, I'm sorry. Something's wrong with me. It's like I'm having a breakdown.
You're not having a breakdown. It's stress.
I keep making mistakes like that. I'm awful.
No, you're not.
And annoying.
You know what? You can't focus on what's going wrong.
The difference is I have to remember that this is set up on purpose because emotions when you're a child are not as complex as you are as an adult, and you need to have the journey to go forward and learn the complexity. And once they get more complex towards the end, that's when things start really to be exciting, and I really appreciate the direction they go into. And even when I saw it in theaters, I really appreciated seeing all the different emotions from the adults compared to the kids. I just appreciate more complexity compared to simplicity in this realm. And at the end, when we have our cutscene, the way the dogs are and the cats are, and you get into the dog's mind and the cat's mind, that's honestly the most hilarious point of this film. And that's when things start becoming a lot more fun. And you think it would be a lot more of a fun film, but it's actually a lot more of a serious film throughout the entire time. And It's a little bit of a different tone, but it works really well. We also were introduced to Bing Bong, who is a very, very interesting character. Because the last couple of films, not only by Pixar but also by Disney, they've been doing this villain trope where the trick is that you make it seem like they're not a villain and they kind of trick you, and at the end they appear to be a villain. So I remember the first time I saw this movie, the way Bing Bong came on screen, he seemed very suspicious and he seemed like you couldn't trust him and he was a villain.
Ooh, look at you. Huh? I will take you, but not you. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't leave you.
Hello.
What?
Wait, hey, wait. Whoa, wait, stop. Excuse me?
I was looking for, diversion!
What?
So long, sucker!
It didn't turn out to be the case. He turns out to be a good guy. It actually helped him out. Who he also is played by Richard Kind, by the way, who was in Bug's Life that we talked about previously. And it's a really great comedian. So I did enjoy the character of Bing Bong. Plus, Bing Bong is actually really fun to say, but it did seem very confusing because I was expecting him to turn out and be a villain to them when it wasn't the case. So I don't know if they did that on purpose because they have been going on this track, or if it was just my interpretation of it. And if no one else, if you've seen this, do you think Bing Bong, did you think he was a villain in the beginning? Or did you trust him all the way and thought he was a great guy from all the way? Because I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about this. I like how experimental they can be with him and the scenes following, because you have, which is one of my favorite parts, the abstract scene where they go in and the dimensions all change. That is honestly such a cool scene, and I love how avant-garde they can get, even if it's just for a couple of minutes.
Hey, would you look at that?
Whoa. What's happening?
No, they turned it on.
Never seen this before.
Ah!
My face! My beautiful face! No!
What is going
We're
on?
abstracting. There are 4 stages. This is the first. Non-objective fragmentation.
All right, do not panic. What is important is that we all stay together. Hold!
And then we also have one of my all-time favorite characters, which I actually have. This is actually really cool, which is a really fun story. I ended up getting one of these Funko vinyl figures from Inside Out, and you have a 1 in 12 chance. You have the characters, so you could get joy, sadness, disgust, anger, fear, or another one of sadness, or another one of anger, or another one of joy with the ball, with the memory balls. Orbs, sorry, they're orbs, not balls. Disgust, Bing Bong, Rainbow Unicorn, which is the one I wanted, and another one of Bing Bong, sad. So you can get a close-up look of that. And mine, I got my Rainbow Unicorn, which is honestly my favorite ever. But my favorite thing, and I want to know if it's actually worth something, if you can see, his little coffee cup is upside down. And it's an era which I'm like, this makes me love it even more. It was designed wrong, and this honestly is one of my favorite possessions because of the fact that the coffee cup is upside down and it's wrong. So I kept the box on purpose. I wanted to keep it as mint condition as I possibly could. It is a blind pack, so I had to open it, but I kept it and it's here. So that way it's a whole collection set. So if I wanted to sell it, I wanted to see how much it would be. But honestly, it's so fantastic and I love it so much that I want to keep it for a while, but I'm curious to know how much it would be. So I know it's a side note, but it's related because Rainbow Unicorn.
Rainbow Unicorn. She's right there.
My friend says you're famous. She wants your autograph.
No, sadness. Don't bother Miss Unicorn, okay? Sorry, she's from out of town. It's so embarrassing, right?
The dream sequences are a really fun point of it, and I always want to know, why do they include clowns in these films? I feel like clowns are just a huge part of these reviews that I've been doing, and we've discussed clowns in different films the most compared to any other thing, especially when it comes to fears. And this one is looked at as a fear. Riley is afraid of clowns, but it's so interesting how clowns affect people so much.
Who's the birthday girl?
Another random thing about Riley's personality is it's a huge thing about Riley not liking broccoli. And they show a shop in their new town, San Francisco, where Riley gets offered broccoli pizza and they are disgusted by it. Question about that, I know it does preference, but why is broccoli so disgusting? I love broccoli pizza. It's one of my favorite things. Broccoli and garlic pizza is honestly my favorite pizza topping. So I couldn't connect with this. I was just shocked that broccoli pizza was even a gross thing. And Riley's personality is very interesting too. She's afraid of weird things. I mean, I know she's 11, but the fact that they come from Minnesota and they're traveling to San Francisco, I also question why she's so sad about leaving Minnesota when there's so much more to do in California and she's gonna have so much more opportunity now. And I know she's 11 and she can't understand that, but if I was able to travel from Minnesota to San Francisco, I would be so ecstatic. You have so much in San Francisco. You have the beaches, you have warm, wonderful weather, you have Comic-Con nearby in San Diego, which is like an hour or so or 3 hours away. I know San Francisco's south. You have Full House.
Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a face of somebody who needs you.
Things like that, where they're just so much nicer. And like I said, I know it's hard for a child and I have to think of it as a child. There's nothing in Minnesota except for the Mall of America and snow and ice, and I know she'll talkie, but that was my personal argument against it because I would be so ecstatic to go to San Francisco. I am really excited about this film. I think this is one of the best films that they've done, and I really look forward. I would love to see them do a sequel to this film because now Riley was turned 12 and we're entering puberty, and there's going to be so much more complexity in her liking guys and coming more into adult. I think this is very important to talk about. There's so much set up that they could do so much greatness with this, and I am excited to see if they do make a sequel. The changes of her and her mind and her transforming into a teenager makes things so much more interesting, and you get to be open to a whole other world. So I really do hope that they do make a sequel out of this one because this one deserves it and they could do so much more with this. There's also not too much in the parks involving Inside Out right now, but I did want to talk about this too because there's been rumors for years now that Inside Out is going to take over the Imagination Pavilion and replace good old Figment here with his ride, which is kind of hated compared to what it was in the past. I do love Figment. I think he's a really great character and he's just so much fun, but I would be open to seeing them do an Inside Out ride as long as they keep Figment in the parks. And I know that they were talking about putting an Inside Out ride in instead of Journey into Imagination with Figment, and move Figment over to the Magic Eye Theater and give him his own show, which would be totally fine with me. But there is one thing that's so important that they cannot get rid of, and that's in the queue line. They cannot get rid of Robin Williams' picture. But Robin, I still miss it. I feel he needs to stay here forever. We need to celebrate his memory forever and ever and ever. He's important. Cannot get rid of his picture in Flubber. He needs to be immortalized in the parks forever, and he cannot get rid of him. So that's my only request, Disney. If you decide to make a Inside Out ride and move Figment over to a different area, just keep Robin Williams around. That's all I ask. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at a Pixar film that did not do well with The Good Dinosaur. So stay tuned, and as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.